Welcome to Inside the PSC, an in-depth look at the activities of the Public Service Commission of West Virginia. I'm your host, Karen Hall, and my guest today is Chairman Charlotte R. Lane. We're really happy to have her with us again. We're going to start today, however, with a video that the chairman recorded earlier. What we're talking about today is a task force that has been formed to set up the rules and regulations for how fire hydrants are going to be regulated. And this is her original take on that subject.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Lane, Chairman of the West Virginia Public Service Commission. I'm going to fill you in on the next step in our process of ensuring the safety of your fire hydrants. This is where you all are invited to get involved. As background, last year the Commission had its engineering staff do a study of the maintenance and upkeep of the state's 50,000 fire hydrants. The report found that for the most part, the fire hydrants are maintained and functioning, but standards for upkeep of the maintenance and who had the jurisdiction over regulating the fire hydrants was not clear. So we took the matter to the legislature. Lawmakers determined that the Public Service Commission should be the oversight agency in dealing with fire hydrants and their maintenance. The legislature also says that two national standards ought to be followed for flow testing and marking of hydrants, and the installation, field testing, and maintenance of the devices. This is in addition to state requirements already on the books. So the legislature said the Commission should issue rules and regulations to ensure the proper functioning of fire hydrants and the utilities that own them. We are to look at everything and choose what best meets the state's needs, and that is where you come in. We hope to hear from a broad spectrum of individuals, businesses, local governments, and associations. In fact, anyone with an interest in fire hydrants. We will collect a list of interested parties, then assemble a task force to make recommendations. We don't know who will be on it, but we want the best and brightest to work on this important issue. There is no deadline, but we hope to have a final plan by the end of the summer. So spread the word. You or someone you know may end up on our task force.
That gives us a really good background to start from. So I would like to welcome Chairman Lane. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. So now let us start out. On March 19th, the Public Service Commission issued an order for the creation of a task force that will recommend rules for how to govern the operation and maintenance of fire hydrants. And early on, you appointed 5 members and invited 13 other groups or individuals to join. You also opened the group up to anyone else who cared to be involved and has an interest in fire hydrants. Why did you do it that way?
Fire hydrants are very important, and with the passage of the legislation, it's important that we get as many people involved as possible that have an interest in fire hydrants. And when we initially started this process, there were several entities that intervened, and so we have made them parties. But when I was dealing with the legislature, we found out a whole lot of other people who had an interest in fire hydrants, and so that's why we expanded the task force. And the reason that we have the task force is we've got these two national standards that the legislature said we should look at, and we want as much input and diverse input as possible so that we can come up with the right rules and regulations. And our first meeting of the task force is April 26th, and it's not too late for anybody that still wants to come to contact the PSC and ask to come, and everybody will be welcome. That meeting will be open to the public. It will be live streamed, and so anybody that wants to watch it will be able to watch it on the internet.
That's great. Yeah, I know we do a lot of live streaming on our website, which is psc.org. state.wv.us. It's kind of a mouthful, but I'm sure that they will put it on the screen for us. By the time this airs, April 26th may possibly have passed. So if someone is still interested in getting involved later or giving their input, how would they go about doing that?
They still contact the PSC. We have no deadlines.
Okay. Okay. Now, a number of groups have shown interest in participating in the task force, as you said. So do you have any idea how large it might ultimately be?
I think it could be a large group of people for at least for the initial meeting, but I really have no idea. But it will be held in our large hearing room at the Commission at 201 Brook Street, and that room holds a couple hundred people. So I think we'll have enough room for everybody that wants to participate.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I can't wait to see this. Now, I know also that you named Wendy Braswell, who is the head of our legal division, to head up the task force. So I assume that's because you have a lot of confidence in Wendy.
Yes, Wendy is the director of our legal division and has a lot of experience with running task forces, and we will have lots of other staff participate. Our engineering division will be participating, and other staff members at the commission will be participating, so that we know that there are going to be a lot of people participating, but we also have a pretty tight deadline. I want these rules to be in effect by January 1 of 2025. And there's a process that we have to go through to get those rules to become effective. So we have the April 26th first meeting. We have said that June 30 is the date that we want the final report, and that final report will probably propose rules, and then we have to put those proposed rules out for public comment. And then after we have the public comment, we may or may not have a hearing, but then the commission has to review all of those proposed rules, the comments, and then we have to issue an order saying these are our final rules, but then we have to file those with the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of State, they have to be with the Secretary of State at least 60 days before they can become effective. So we're now in April, and I want these rules to be effective January 1, so we're on a pretty fast track to get these rules done.
That really is a pretty close timeline. Now, I know that we've got 257 water utilities in the state of West Virginia, and obviously they're involved in this. But just going back to the makeup of this task force, you also included the volunteer fire departments. So what perspective do you think they'll bring?
Well, in looking into this whole issue, we discovered that there's a whole lot that we don't know, and there's a whole lot of involvement from people that we don't really know who are involved in fire hydrants, but we know that volunteer fire departments have a big stake in having working fire hydrants. And so we wanted to hear their perspective of what they find, what they are currently doing, and what they might recommend for further action.
I see. Now, is there a difference between the perspective that you might get from the volunteer fire departments and the municipal fire departments?
It's hard to tell, but we will be willing to listen to what they all have to say.
Okay, well, that's a really good thing. So now we've gone through the process, and this sounds like a really long process, and you've got a short timeline, as you've said. But considering that the group includes people from all over the state, I know you said the first meeting is in person, but after that, are they going to meet remotely? Because it seems like it would be hard to get all of those people together.
I am not sure what the process will be after the initial meeting. That is something that the group will discuss and will make recommendations.
That's up to Wendy, isn't it?
Well, no, it's up to the group to make recommendations, and then I'm sure that Wendy will ask me how we should proceed, and the commission will discuss it and make a decision.
Oh, very good. Okay. Well, now you have, again, that extremely compressed timeline, so, or at least by government standards, in which you want the task force to complete their work. And you recommended that they complete their work by June 30th, so you would have that report by then. Do you really think that that's reasonable? Do you really expect that they'll meet that deadline?
Yes, I do. I mean,
Okay.
it is an order of the commission, and I know that people are very invested in this process, and there are national standards out there. And so it's my expectation that the task force will review those national standards and see which ones will work best for West Virginia. So really, we're not reinventing the wheel. We are just selecting what has been proven to work in the past and adopting them for West Virginia.
That makes so much sense. It really is helpful not to have to go in and really just reinvent everything. And you said that after the task force submits their report to you, it will be open for public comment.
Yes.
How long will that comment period last?
Well, it could be 30 to 60 days, but my expectation is that we will only leave it open for 30 days because of my expectation to get this all done and effective January 1.
That makes a lot of sense. And it really is very easy. I would like to explain to people that it's really very easy for people to make public comments to the commission. All you really have to do is go online to our website and click Submit a Comment. And where it says Submit a Comment, you want to follow the directions for a formal comment. And that is where you go in, you just type in whatever your opinion, whatever your thoughts are about that. And all of that goes into the record for the case. And that's it's really a very simple process. People can also write to us if they would like to, or if they want to call, they can call, and someone will very happily walk you through the process. So you can certainly do that. Now, you were talking about the two sets of standards. So, including our engineering division, which I know they have really studied this very closely, how much do we really know about the maintenance and operation of fire hydrants?
Well, we did a survey of all of the water utilities, and we got a lot of information back. We found out that a number of them do inspections every year, but that means a number of them don't. And we also found out that a lot of them periodically do flow testing, which is the really important test, because that is the test that determines how much pressure is there for the firefighters to use. And we discovered that those inspections are done just sporadically, and so that is of concern. We also know that West Virginia has about 50,000 fire hydrants, and and we also discovered what the age of them are. We have some that are over 100 years old. We have a number of them that are 50 years old, and so the process of this task force will be also to get a lot more information to supplement the information that we already have.
I see. Okay, very good. Now, and referring back to my notes, I know that the report that the engineering division did was pretty blistering in a couple of ways, but there was also some good news in there. I know that they reported that 11% of hydrants in the state should be replaced. The flip side of that coin is that 89% of those hydrants are in pretty good shape.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. So while some of the press have tried to downplay it The report actually said that about 73% of the fire hydrants are now inspected annually. So that's more than we expected.
I thought the results of the survey were very gratifying. It told me that the issue was not as dire as I initially thought it would be. It's unfortunate that some fire hydrants weren't working and there were fires, but overall, it looks as if we've got a lot of working fire hydrants. And the purpose of this process that we're doing now is to make sure that all of the fire hydrants work.
And that's an outstanding goal. I know I certainly want the one down the street from my house to work. Oh, we're enjoying our conversation with Chairman Lane right now, and we are going to stop and watch another video. We will be back to discuss fire hydrants a bit further right after this.
Hello, I'm Charlotte Lane, Chairman of the West Virginia Public Service Commission. Remember those old posters? A stern Uncle Sam looks out solemnly over a caption that says, "I want you for U.S. Army." Today isn't a check into nostalgia, and you're not wanted for the Army. This is my pitch to recruit you to the Public Service Commission. Like old Uncle Sam, our commission needs you too. If you're looking for interesting work, you couldn't find better than the commission. Looking for the exotic? Yes, we have that too. Any number of intriguing cases come before us. Looking for a place that will challenge your talents? Couldn't find better. Want to work where you can have a real impact, make a difference in the lives of many people? This is the spot. For the enormous amount of work we do, we have a tiny staff, fewer than 230 people. We need you. We particularly need people smart in math, in business, police officers, engineers, lawyers, and other specialists. If you are about to graduate from college in one of those areas, come see us. Know of a recent graduate in one of those fields? Let them know we're looking. Are you in a rut and need a change? That happens to a lot of people. If you've had a successful career in the private sector and you are considering a second career, we'd love to talk to you. Nearing retirement age but having second thoughts about the rocking chair? Come talk. The work is very satisfying. You use your brain to examine some of the most complex issues you'll ever face, but it's not all hard work. We have great hours, competitive salaries, and exceptional benefits. You have nothing to lose and so much to gain. Give us a chance to give you a chance. Call us at 304-340-0300. I don't want to sound like one of those commercials, but that number is worth repeating, 304-340-0300. You'll be pleasantly surprised, I suspect.
We really hope that more people will consider working for the Public Service Commission or just in public service. It's a very rewarding career, as I'm sure the chairman will attest. She has been in many areas of public service throughout her career, and we're going to talk about that in a future show. But I want to ask you, you appeared before the legislature last fall and indicated to them that you were thinking about something along the lines of a reform for fire hydrants and the way they were being handled. So the legislature overwhelmingly approved the piece of legislation that led to your task force, and I believe you received only one negative vote out of the entire 100-member House of Delegates, and it passed unanimously in the Senate. What's your reaction to that?
I was sort of surprised that somebody voted against it, and I haven't figured that out. And the governor was sort of amazed too that somebody would be voting against the maintenance of fire hydrants. But I was really pleased that the legislature overwhelmingly passed this, because the legislature recognized, as do we, that fire safety is really, really important to our citizens, and that we need to do everything that we can to make sure that fire hydrants are working. And so I was very pleased with the legislature.
I'm sure you were, and as I'm sure the rest of the commission was as well. So what has been the general reaction to this order?
The general reaction is that people are excited about participating, and we will take it from there, because the actual fire hydrant issue has gotten a lot of publicity. And I think it's because, you know, at the Public Service Commission, we deal with a lot of complex issues. But fire hydrants are pretty simple to understand. They're out there in front of our house and we want them to work. And so people have shown a lot of interest in what we are doing, and I'm glad of that.
Okay, very good. So, yeah, as you said, fire hydrants are really pretty simple. They're basically a valve with a pipe that goes in and the water comes out.
Hopefully the water comes out.
Hopefully the water comes out. The real issue with them has been the water pressure. How do we address that?
Well, the water pressure, that's where we will require a certain amount of flow testing on, and I'm not sure what the recommendation will be on how many years it will be that the inspections have to be done. And then, of course, during the course of this, when inspections are done, we will find that fire hydrants have to be replaced. Now, it's my understanding that testing and the flow testing is not a big expensive item, but replacement of fire hydrants can be expensive, and that's where the smaller water utilities might run into some issues and will be contacting us and asking them what they can do to replace these fire hydrants. And the legislation allowed these utilities, they have what the legislature several years ago required them to have a certain amount of cash working capital on hand, and that is for emergencies, like if the roof falls in on your building or something, or a pump goes bad or whatever. But the legislation will allow these water utilities to use that cash working capital if they need to meet these standards that we are going to adopt.
Oh, that's a really, really good answer to the problem. I know that there is some money that's available from the ARPA program through the federal government. Do you know if any of that would be available?
I do not know.
Okay.
And that is something that we will have to explore down the road.
Okay, okay. Now, you used to staff the House Judiciary Committee as one of its attorneys.
A long time ago.
So, do you know a lot about drafting bills and their formulation? I mean, this law is only 3 paragraphs long. How unusual is that?
Well, it really doesn't matter how long the legislation is. It needs to just address the purpose, and this legislation does that.
Okay, so I would say it's very succinct.
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's good. Now, it says that the bill says that the public interest, it is in the public interest, excuse me, I'm referring to my notes here, it is in, because I want to make sure I get it right. It is in the public interest that public water utilities follow 2 sets of national standards concerning water flow testing, the marking of fire hydrants, and the installation, field testing, and maintenance of the hydrants. Just in layman's terms, what does that mean?
It means that we've got these 2 national standards. We are going to, and I'm sure that in some instances that they may conflict with one another. And so our task force will make a recommendation as to which of the standards we should follow. And they'll take some from one set of standards and take some from another set of standards. But what it means is that we're going to come up with standards for inspections, flow testing, maintenance procedures, marking, because apparently the standards have different types of color coding for different flows of the fire hydrants. So that is something that we will be addressing in the rules.
Ah, very interesting. I know that's something that Jonathan Fowler talked about in an earlier version of Inside the PSC when he was talking about the original fire hydrant report. And I really found the color coding of the hydrants to be fascinating because it allows a fire department to identify immediately just by sight how much water pressure is in that hydrant. That's really, really good. So is there anything special that you want to see come out of this task force?
I want to see specific rules, and then I want to see all of the water utilities in the state that have fire hydrants to start following the rules and inspecting and doing the flow testing and doing whatever maintenance is necessary, because we need to make sure that the citizens of West Virginia are going to have adequate fire protection.
That is an admirable goal, and I know that if anybody can pull this off, you can. But is there anything else in particular that you would like to add?
No, I'm just really looking forward to public participation in this task force.
Okay, and again, we would encourage everyone to go to the Public Service Commission's website and make a comment. Just click on Submit a Comment, and we do want to hear from you. We want to hear from everybody. I would like to thank everyone who has watched today. Chairman Lane, thank you so much for taking the time to join us again. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
It's always great to have you here. And we would invite you to please join us again next time for another edition of Inside the PSC.